Today's episode is presented by LodeStar, the fee experts.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Lending Leaders. My name is Alayna Gardner, and this week I'm joined with Lynnette Nuese. She is the Director of Sales over at Constellation Mortgage Solutions. Thank you so much, Lynnette, for joining me today.
Absolutely. So happy to be here, Alayna. It's so easy to talk to with you. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course. And you're no stranger to mortgage lending. You've been in the industry for a minute. So how did you get started in the industry?
Well, I was working in a bank, had banking experience when I was in college. So I kind of gravitated to that when I got out, and they merged with another bank and had a mortgage division. And it was right in 1986 when rates went from 18% down to 8%. And so everybody and their brother was refinancing and they needed help in the processing department. And I was like, I'll do that. I don't know what a mortgage is, but I'll do that. And so that's really how I got started. And once I got into it, processed for a number of years, moved into compliance and then into sales. So kind of a very strange way of moving from, the ops side to the sales side. But definitely got into on the vendor side as an account rep and really stayed in the account management side for a very long time. So just, as you talk to many people that have been in mortgage, it gets in your blood. You really enjoy what you do and putting people into homes. And so, I spent a very large amount of my time on the mortgage side. 5 years ago, moved over to the vendor side in the LOS space and really have enjoyed doing that as well.
Yeah, I feel like you get to see when you switch sides like that. I feel like you have such a unique perspective. We have a member of our team that is doing it now, and there's just things that as vendors, you never realize are important to lenders unless you've been in a shop and you're like we mark a seller obligated field that I didn't think was important, but actually closers love it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it is really all that. And we very strategically, all of our customer facing roles from sales to implementation to account management, even support. We've all been on the mortgage side. So it really, really helps when you're speaking with clients. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. Absolutely. And, throughout your career, I'm sure you've worked with a lot of vendors and obviously now you work for Constellation. What's your take on the most important changes that mortgage tech has undergone since you've joined? And what do you think the next big thing is?
Well, I think a lot of it is just the speed that we're really trying to get things done. There's, a part of me says, we're still doing stuff the way when I processed 30 years ago, right? And that just seems we need to change that. But there's a lot of those processes that are still the same. So being on the vendor side, it's really about, I think, really trying to make that loan manufacturing process faster. And at least on the LOS side, that's what we're trying to do right now. We're starting to get into the AI and all of those things that say, hey, let these things happen automatically. Nobody has to press a button to make those things occur. I think that will become really what lenders want to see when they look at new technology, is what can it do for us that it's going to really catapult. We don't want to change our systems just to change systems, right? Is the tech really going to help us improve our processes? And then sometimes, you have to be willing to maybe change a process or two if you're going to do that. And so that's our job, and somewhat of a challenge sometimes to really speak to the clients and say, hey, this is what the technology does and what it can do for you. But the real thing is adoption. You have to adopt what it is. So that's kind of the whole AI thing, I think, is a little bit, we're still new in all of that, and we'll see how much. I mean, there's conversation as to is it really bringing us a lot of stuff or isn't it? The verdict is probably still out on that a little bit, but I see that as kind of the next thing that's coming, is having all that automation, and how can you bring that into your underwriting piece, right? And those other pieces in the system that allow you to use AI in a good way, and again, make everything faster.
Yeah. I mean, and I think everyone, AI has been this really big buzzword for the last year because it's everywhere, right?
It's everywhere. Yes.
especially if you're in the sales and marketing world, like I think sales and marketing are the first people to have access to AI because it's
Yes.
low stakes, right?
Right.
Creating
Right.
content for a social media post, low stakes. Um,
Right.
Underwriting a loan file, high
A
stakes.
little bit different. Yeah. Right.
So I think we're definitely going to see a little bit more slow of adoption. I mean, we're still
I
talking
do
to
too.
lenders that are doing manual everything, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah. Not even
manually
paperless, right? Some of them aren't even really truly
everything.
paperless. Yeah. So it's going to take a while. And I don't know. I guess we've been maybe an industry that's been slower to adopt some of these technologies.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you're not, I remember my niece works in the Discover, right? And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, 10 clicks, you can get a credit card. Okay. I get it, but
Yeah.
we're doing a little bit different deal here. So it is, there's just certain things that you have to do. There's certain things you have to verify.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make sure are correct. And so it's a fine balance to go back and forth between, okay, we want to get the manufacturing of the loan done faster. How do we do that? And yet, is it
Mm-hmm.
still all accurate information? And yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I think we'll see it. We'll see it eventually. And
yeah.
I think with that, customization and configuration are two things that I think get tossed around a lot. And we actually have a
Yes.
full outline. Kelly and I are going to be talking about this with a CMS
Okay.
webinar in April. So we'll have
Super.
that linked to this episode if anyone wants to join and hear us deep dive into that.
Yeah.
But you guys talk a lot about it at Constellation. And what is the difference between the two?
Yeah, when I was in the mortgage side, if you asked me the difference, I'd be like, oh, those words are interchangeable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they really are quite different. And it's certainly in most solutions, and certainly on the LOS side,
Mm-hmm.
the difference between customization and configuration is really, it can lead you into trouble if you're a lender making the wrong decision, right? Customization, we would clarify as really having a system when it comes to the LOS space that is really probably just a shell.
Mm-hmm.
And you are going to build it, right? You maybe have a very unique business model that you are different and outside of the industry. And so you want a lot of customization to fit your workflow, how you do business, just different things like that. And so you know that you're going to spend a lot of time, not only in implementation, but that you will spend time and money really building that out. What does that look like? In some cases, the LOS company will do and help you with that. Sometimes they'll say, hey, we've got a third party that helps us do that. And again, there's a cost involved in that. And then in most cases, you also have to have the IT bandwidth to be able to do that. Because a lot of times, if you're going to do a lot of customization, you will end up every time the LOS provider does a release, you could break something that you've done.
Yep.
So you've got to go back and have your IT people fix that, right? So it's just a matter of evolving that system and really knowing that you're going to spend more time in implementation because it takes more time to build that out. You'll spend more money, and you want to make sure that you have the IT bandwidth to do that. And ongoing once you get out of implementation. So those are the main things. It really depends on how unique is your business. Do you follow the normal mortgage flow that you just need a configurable system or a highly configurable system? Highly configurable being that the system is really set up and you're going to go in and kind of plug in what you want that system to do. So you will have more of, the radio buttons and things like that in the admin of that, adminning that system, and that you're able to admin it pretty quickly. And implementation is shorter. You're not going to spend as much money in implementation. And you'd have the ability to have customization done if you did. Hey, we want a specific screen to do this, or we want certain fields on a screen. You always can do customizations, but typically it's not something that you have the IT bandwidth to do to be constantly filling in anytime a release is done. You want a system that is built for the mortgage people in the mortgage department to be able to admin the system. And that's the kind of system that we have, quite frankly. So it just depends. What is your bandwidth for IT? How much are you willing to spend on your system? Do you do a unique business flow, or do you do the typical, workflow of a loan, and you just need a system that's going to do this for you, and you want to be able to admin that yourself? So either yourself or, someone within the mortgage department is going to be the admin for that and can easily go in and change things by clicking on a radio button button or making a warning, a hard stop, different things like that. So the system is more set up and ready to go. I don't like to use the term out of the box because I think that leaves a connotation that it's just plug and play, and really configurable systems aren't necessarily that way. But it's more that you can set the system and kind of forget it, right? It's there, it's done, it's set up the way it's supposed to be, or how you
Yeah,
want
and
it.
I think that's so important too, with I'm sure you've worked in multiple LOS platforms. What have you experienced from the lender side of those systems failing you, and what have been the frustrations you felt kind of day to day when you were back pre-vendor days?
Right. So a lot of it was just latency issues where you
Mhm.
felt, geez, I'm sitting here watching the screen just spin, and I
Mhm.
really want to get on with my day and what I'm doing. And so there a lot of that. And some of it also was frustration with being, quite honestly, as a user, locked out of other screens that I wasn't able to get
Mhm.
into. Right. And I understand why companies do that, certainly. But there can be a frustration where, hey, I need to run findings and I have to have somebody else do that for me, right? Or I need to rerun findings and I have to have somebody
Mhm.
else do that for me. It's kind of like I just want to be able to do my job, do my day, get on with the next file, or having to get out of a system because somebody else has to get in there and do something, right? Things like
Yeah.
that, where you just it's those types of frustrations. It's the ease of it. Is the system intuitive?
Mhm.
Number one. And then number two, is it working? Is it, do you have a lot of issues that you feel like, you're not getting solved? Things like that. And probably, honestly, the number one thing I hear when I do a discovery call is customer service, right? That customer
Yeah.
service, they put in a ticket and they wait forever, things like that. And that can be very frustrating when you're waiting for something to finish your job for that day. And you got, 5 other files that you need to work on. So yeah, it's that kind of thing. At least that
Perfect.
I've experienced in the past as a
Yeah.
user.
And one other thing our team found when they were stumbling around on your LinkedIn page is you've talked a little bit about implementation and the mistakes lenders have made when they select and implement new technology. What has kind of made you passionate about implementation so much?
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
what would you say the 3 biggest mistakes that lenders make are? We're going to pick a number.
Yeah, I think one is they probably don't ask enough questions about the time that it's going to take, what they need to do, how involved they
Mhm.
need to be. Two, what does the timing on their side look like? Right?
Yeah.
They do another job all day, and so they have to be willing and able to put in. Is it 4 hours a week? Is it 8 hours a week? What does that look like?
Mhm.
And then really asking, we do discovery calls up front, and really throughout the whole sales process as a lender, you really want to be asking hard questions about making sure, when we hear of a failed implementation, we get people come to us and say, we've worked with them, we've stopped because we've had a failed implementation. In most cases, it can be, and I've been in these calls where you ask a question and the implementation team, there's just a long pause because they do not understand what it is that you're asking. To the point of
Mhm.
you have to know the mortgage business to some degree. Being an IT person is great, but if I ask that person a question and they
Yeah.
don't understand the background of why I'm asking and what it means to them during implementation, it takes you forever to get a system set up. It's a lot of frustration because of the fact that
Mhm.
you feel like you're not able to communicate well. Those are the kinds of things that we hear when we talk about failed implementations when clients come to us. It's a lot of really delving out how they do business, what it is they need and are looking for, how are we improving what they're
Mhm.
doing today. And those things need to be, you have to have a really good implementation team that can talk. And again, knowing that they have been in the mortgage business, that they are able to talk the talk and walk the walk, so they understand what it is that you're asking for. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize how we were recently selecting a new marketing tool, and I did not realize how important it was to have a US based company until I had to explain the US mortgage process to someone internationally,
Yes.
which was wild. I was like, here are the regulations we deal with. Here's why
Yes.
we do what we do. Because they were just
Yes.
asking background questions. They're like, what is your business? And I was like, title agent fees. And they were like, what are those?
What
And
does that mean? Yeah.
what does that mean? And
Yeah.
I can't just be like, when you go to buy a house, that same explanation that we give
Right.
hundreds of times, right, to people that we don't that are outside the industry, to our friends
Yes,
and family, like
exactly.
all of that.
It still
That
doesn't mean anything to
explanation,
them.
it
Yeah,
still doesn't mean anything to them. And that was tough.
that's right.
And we
Yeah.
got off that call and I was like, well, we can't go with them.
Right. Well, and rightfully so, right? I mean, it's not, you're not, it just is what it is. And it really helps to have even them wanting to know that your servers are here in the United States, that everything that you're doing,
Yep.
are to support people here. It's very important. It's very important because you can spend a lot of time on a call with somebody who doesn't, like, to your point, that doesn't understand what you're doing. And you will just spend a lot of time feeling like you're spinning your wheels to get that
Exactly.
solution up and running. Yeah. Again, kind of no
Well,
matter what solution it is, to your point. Yeah.
exactly. Well, as we wrap up here today, I get to ask my favorite question, which is our LodeStar question. So a LodeStar is a guiding light in the night sky. So Lynnette, what do you view as a LodeStar in your life, either personally or professionally?
As a guiding light in my life, I feel I'm yeah, I wouldn't call myself a very religious person, but I am spiritual, and I feel that, using the principles of the Ten Commandments really kind of guide me through my life. It's been a pretty good guiding light. Business wise, I'd say, boy, I feel blessed to be here at Constellation. I think our leadership is very visionary and are always working towards thinking outside the box and really making things work. We have a really good blend of people that have been here for a very long time and people that are new. And so it's a lot of collaborating on how we make our systems better. So, I would say our management just is really professional, very visionary, and I feel very blessed to be here. Yeah.
Well, that's
I
wonderful.
don't know if that works for you or not, but
That works. I love it. So yeah, Lynnette, where can people find you if they're interested in connecting?
yeah, so if you'd like to see a demo of our system or just even connecting with me, of course, I'm on LinkedIn, and our website is www.constellationmortgagesolutions.com. Come visit, take a look at Nova, see what you think. And yes, if you'd like to see a demo, we'd love to talk to you.
I was going to say your team and I will both be at Great Rivers in
Yes,
April
I'm looking
too.
forward to
So
that. I love that show. Yes, it's so great. So
Great
yeah, I'm
Rivers
looking forward to
MBA,
seeing
we're
you.
coming for you.
We are. Thanks, Alayna. I look forward to seeing you then. It'll be great.
It'll be wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lynnette, for joining me today on Lending Leaders. And thank you all for joining us. And we'll see you all next week.